You're listening to the Journey podcast. Ever wondered about the liberating experience of unlearning the crap that blocks personal success? Find out more in this episode. This episode contains strong language and listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this enlightening episode, we embark on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth, challenging conventional wisdom and shedding the beliefs and behaviors that may hinder our journey to success and empowerment. Our guest, a passionate advocate for personal development, invites us to explore the transformative power of unlearning as we dive deep into the misconceptions and limitations that often hold us back. We'll explore how questioning societal norms, embracing vulnerability, and reframing our mindset can pave the way for a more fulfilling and empowered life. Through our engaging dialogue, we invite you to reflect on your own journey and discover the empowering possibilities that lie in unlearning the beliefs that no longer serve us. Learn to apply valuable tools and perspectives that can propel you towards a more authentic and empowered self. Kathy Baldwin is the founder and lead coach of Rise Up Coaching, empowering professionals to unlock their potential and create meaningful change. An experienced life and business coach, Kathy wrote the book Unlearn the Crap About Personal Success and Empowerment, sharing her methodology for growth and fulfillment. After a lifelong journey of personal transformation, Kathy created Rise Up Coaching to provide others with the tools and mindset shifts she discovered through her own healing. Blending science, universal laws, and an understanding of the mind-body connection, Kathy guides clients to tap into their inner wisdom and live their best lives. After years of pushing through trauma, stress, and burying her own needs, Kathy hit rock bottom both physically and mentally. Despite initially turning to traditional medicine, she found it did not provide the solutions she needed to heal and transform. Kathy then embarked on her own self-guided healing process, drawing on the decades of knowledge she had accumulated from her studies. She began piecing together a step-by-step approach to become the best version of herself, using innovative methodologies grounded in science and universal laws. Some of the key concepts and frameworks Kathy studied include neuroplasticity, epigenetics, mindfulness, emotional freedom technique, meditation, hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, and the laws of attraction. Kathy is also a certified body and emotion code energy healer. Let's meet Kathy Baldwin. Hi, Kathy. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because unlearning the crap about personal success and empowerment is such an amazing topic and much needed topic for today's world. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I agree. I believe we're in a paradigm shift and things are happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So do you want to share a little bit about yourself and how you came into what you do today? It sounds like you've had a very interesting journey to be doing what you do.
Yes, I have. Just like any other person, I had a normal upbringing, but when I was coming through my time, there were so many things that were changing. You know, women had just finally gotten the ability to have a bank account and get a mortgage and credit cards. The computer was coming out, but there was still all of these old values and morals and how a good girl acted. And so there was a lot of clash and a lot of contradictions that were happening. And I found myself in a juxtaposition of being empowered, knowing who I was and what I wanted to do, and going forward, but at the same time, taking care of everything and everybody else until I was empty and broken. And I was one of those women who was too strong for too long. And even though the universe was tapping me on the shoulder saying, excuse me, I got disease like fibromyalgia. I had adrenal fatigue. I had so many things that were happening in my body. And I just pushed harder and didn't let it stop me. So at one point, my body said, okay, I'm going to take over. And it took me down. And when it took me down, I had a full, complete break. And it was shocking because I had been the one who had always taken care of everything and everybody else. So it never occurred to me that I could break. And when that happened, I lost everything, which in hindsight was the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me. Because as I looked at the pieces of my life and knew they wouldn't go back together, I also realized I didn't want them to go back together. Who I was not serving me. And so, as a student of personal development, biochemistry, quantum physics, energy, you name it, I had the opportunity to take all that information and actually heal myself. And so I took all of my coaching, my mentoring business that I had given to everybody else. I took the 40 years of my studying all of these different methodologies, and I went to a root cause analysis, and I cured myself step by step from the foundation up. And as I did, I actually found myself coming into alignment. The best way I like to describe it is a food processor. When you put the lid on the food processor, you can hit the button all you want, but until it clicks into perfect place, it won't work. Well, I finally got all of my pieces clicked into place, and it was the most amazing feeling to really know who I was, where I was betraying myself, and to actually learn the language that the bioenergy, electromagnetic systems of our world were speaking. And now I could have a communication with myself and actually be, for the first time in my life, fully self-empowered.
Wow, what a journey. I
Yes.
just love how the universe does give us hints all the time when it wants us to slow down or take care of ourselves. And so often we end up ignoring that and then paying a price, but usually that does go in some way where we need to end up. But very interesting that that was also the beginning of your journey. And I'm sure that you came across a lot of things that you learned and also many things that you had to unlearn. And so I love the title of the episode. So what was some of that crap that you ran across that just didn't make sense to keep hanging on to? What were the things that you had to unlearn on this journey?
Oh my goodness, there were so many because our brains, they attach a program to an emotion. And so it goes on automatic pilot when that fires off. And you don't even know that that stuff is running in the background because it's just happening to your life. So until you start to work yourself back, I'll give you a really funny story. My mother was an amazing, powerful woman, but she had this joke that she would say all the time, which was, I'm so perfect, I don't have bodily functions. Well, I realized that I had internalized that somewhere in my brain. And I only came to this realization about a year ago that all of my digestive issues, all of everything that I held on to was because I had somewhere in my brain that said if I had bodily functions, there was something wrong with me. Well, you don't know that if it's not examined, but as soon as you hear it and see it, it's crap. Well, I'm sorry, that was a bad pun, but those are the things that can just take over our lives on automatic pilot, and we don't even know until we start to learn and unlearn.
Yeah. How did you even find out that that was happening? I find it's so curious that many of these things are going on just subconsciously. And how do you go looking for these things? How do you discover them?
Well, I have a 3-step process on how to do it. And that's what I use with my clients as well. But it's what I created to heal myself. So the first was to find all of the traumas, all of the things that were trapped in my body and cut the past. And that's when I became an emotion code and a body code practitioner. And I healed myself emotionally. But then I went through all of that process, like I said, going from the root up. And so I was examining things about myself and my life, but then I also brought in the universal laws. So many people only ever talk about the law of attraction, but the law of attraction is only 1/12 of those universal laws, and it does not operate on its own. So, as I was working through these beliefs and examining what wasn't working on the outside of my life, and then going back through, and I have a whole process on how I use the universal laws with that as well. But it was easy to come up with and say, oh, wow, where did that come from? And then as you start to work here backwards through root cause analysis, you can find, oh, well, that makes sense. The same with, I was a love child of the 60s. Well, one of the earliest things that I found out that was affecting my mental health was I felt in my brain, and I didn't know this, that because I was unplanned, I was unwanted, and that therefore I did not belong. And so that was one of those beliefs that really made me self-destructive because I was overcompensating and over delivering to everybody else to try to prove that I belonged and I had a right to be here. So it's all of that crap that our brains absorb that have absolutely nothing to do with reality that really can take us in very destructive paths.
Yeah. And I mean, we talk about this a lot on the podcast because we talk about holistic healing, but the number of times that we stumble across the root causes of physical illnesses, mental illnesses, emotional trauma that are just somewhere going in the subconscious, things that we picked up somewhere, traumas that we experienced that we are not even aware of. It's mind blowing. So this kind of work is so important for uncovering these causes to actually bring healing, actual true healing to people. So yeah, I find that fascinating.
It absolutely is. I told you that I was an emotion code and body code practitioner.
Yeah.
So as I was healing myself, I found, I think it was 200 cases of trapped emotions in my uterus. And the
Wow.
trapped emotion was self-abuse. And as I realized that self-abuse was not me hurting myself or anything, it was betraying myself. It was breaking my word to myself. It was letting myself down and saying that I didn't matter. Everyone else came first. And I had a whole lifetime of putting myself behind everybody else, even though I knew inside there was something that was calling me. There was something that told me there was more. And so that fight inside, it created a lot of disease.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little bit curious about how you look at the fact that many people say that you're already born with everything that you need inside of you to heal, to be happy, to find your path. But how does that work if you are becoming ill and you're struggling and you cannot find your path? How do those two things line up for you, in your opinion?
Well, I believe that we've been purposely disempowered and disconnected from ourselves. And I trace this whole history of it back to the Dark Ages, where we were conquered and, it was power and control that got people into these situations. And so that whole lineage, and it goes through the Industrial Revolution and Newton and Descartes, and there's all these historical moments that brought us to a place where we were to be conformed, to stand in line and be like everybody else. Well, that's not how we were born. And so when our inner self knows that we're not being our authentic self because we're following these societal things and we start getting sick, people will say, well, I didn't do that. You didn't do it consciously, but it's part of your DNA. It's part of the social conditioning. It's part of our environment. Yes, you have the power to undo it, but we need to learn the language of our bodies. And this is where I think my message is really important. And I'm so happy that you're letting me share it, because we are biochemical, electromagnetic beings. We know that in the world. We have machinery, we have quantum computers, we have everything that we accepted that that's the way it works. But for some reason, we have been taught that we are different, that we are not a part of that system. Well, that's crazy. If it works for the rest of the world and how everything functions, how is it possible that we are different? So when we understand how the hormones, how the biochemistry, how our microbiome of our gut, how our senses, we don't have 5 senses. Scientists have found that we have 112 senses that they have been able to identify. But then we also have millions of different bacteria and microbiome in our guts. All of these are complicated, interconnected, interrelated systems. And those systems create us, and we are part of the system. And so when we understand, I knew I was getting taps on the shoulder. I knew it because I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know how to stop and analyze it. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to push forward. Well, I think that's what we do. And when you can sit down and say, oh, if my body is doing this, it's telling me something. And now you learn what that means. And you can use things like energy healing and going into yourself, meditation, to really hear and listen what your body is saying, which is one of my favorite things about the emotion and body code, is that the subconscious is leading the way to tell you what it's been trying to say and you couldn't understand.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And you mentioned at the beginning of the episode that there is a paradigm shift happening. So is that taking us away now from the dark ages and into something different, somewhere where we can align with ourselves, where we can listen to ourselves and empower ourselves? Or what kind of shift is happening right now in the world?
I believe everyone is feeling it. Our systems have been non-sustainable and they're breaking. We have governments that are overspending. We have a monetary system that is built on a house of cards, of lies. We have our social structures. We have all of these things coming at us, and it is a perfect storm. And I believe everyone can feel that energy. I believe because we are an energy being living in an energy world, and the rise of women, or the rise of feminine energy, where we're going away from the conquer and the control and the power, and we're starting to come into collaboration and cooperation instead of competition. We are now changing the vibration. because energy vibrates at different frequencies. And when we rise our frequency of our vibration, our emotions, we pull the vibration of the world around us. When we heal ourselves, we change our DNA. When we change our DNA, we change the next generation. We are in a time where quantum computing is finally catching up to how we are a part of that system. And we can no longer pretend that we're not. We can no longer pretend that we're powerless. We can no longer allow anyone else to come in and tell us how our lives are supposed to be. Go to school, get a good job, work 9 to 5, retire. It doesn't work. And so people are finding their inner gifts, which I believe is the dreams that we've had, the visions, the callings, the yearnings. That is how our body is speaking to us to say, go in this direction. And that when we hit fear, sometimes fear means stop, you're going in the wrong direction, but sometimes it just means you're going outside of your comfort zone. And I don't have a program for this. And if you go out there, you're going to be not on automatic pilot anymore. And our brains are designed to keep us on automatic pilot. It's designed to keep us in safety. It's designed to keep us alive, not thriving.
Yeah. I feel like this shift that's happening is causing people a lot of anxiety and fear and increased stress levels because we don't really quite know how to approach this new way of being. But by the sounds of it, each and every one of us can empower ourselves to take that step and to heal and to align with what we're meant to do. So are there different ways we can go about that? You have the 3-step system that you were explaining. Is that what you take people through to discover their own inner power and their alignment?
Yes, because I don't do anything except show people what the language looks like, help them connect with themselves, because we've lived too long where people tell us what we need to do and what pills we need to take, where it is not about outside influences. It is time to go inside, where the power has always been. We were born with it. We have it. We have just been disconnected from it consciously. And as soon as we consciously connect, as soon as we consciously make decisions and choices that are aligned with who we are, then everything just flows. When we're feeling anxiety, when we're feeling stress, we are going the wrong way. We're betraying ourselves. And that is one of the most important signs that says, whoa, 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 come back to you.
Yeah. Do you find that this is sometimes more challenging for women as opposed to men because we are so used to just giving and giving and giving and putting ourselves last in the many things that are expected of us throughout our lifetimes, putting out the career, the family, putting everything together and always being there and giving. So like for yourself, the bottom fell out. Do you find that this is more challenging for women to step into their power and to heal? I don't know, you work with a lot of clients, so I'm curious if you find that at all.
That is a really interesting question. And I would have to say no, because when a woman steps into her energy, her feminine energy and her power, all of a sudden it's like the light bulbs go on and you can never unknow that feeling again. And so once you get that connection with yourself, everything as you move forward, you recognize when you're out of alignment. Whereas men have been living so much in the masculine. And we have to have both. We live in a universal world of polarity where we need the masculine and the feminine. We need the positive, the negative. We need that to charge that consciousness into a reality. But when men have been programmed to not look at their feelings, to suppress everything, most of the times, I don't know, in my experience, men have not been able to identify what they want, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their dreams are. They've been so cut off from that energetic part of themselves that it's a world they don't recognize. So in that way, I'd probably say no, it's harder for men.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah. By the sounds of what you're saying, it sounds like everybody needs a lot of healing, that men have been cut off from their feelings and from actually knowing what they want. Women were challenged by being, in a sense, oppressed for a very long time and controlled. So it sounds like we all have a lot of healing to do to find our own power again and to find that in a balance, I guess we could say, so that the world actually can experience both of those energies in a balanced kind of way. Yeah. Wow.
Our bodies live in homeostasis. And homeostasis is a state where our body controls our blood pressure, our blood flow, our body temperature, all of our bodily functions, because it is always swinging in and out of alignment. And so that homeostasis is that center that we're being brought back to. Our bodies are trying to get us to do that as well. And our emotions are chemical reactions. We think of them as airy-fairy, out there things, but they are actual hormone chemical reactions that our bodies make. And I'm hoping that when men see this as a physics, as a biology, as a science-backed, proven components that we are, that they understand that their emotions are talking to them. It's the chemicals of our body. But more than that, it's also the vibration that we're vibrating at. The anger, the force, the control, the shame, the blame, the guilt, all of those things are the lowest vibrating emotions that are out there. They are the ones that get sucked down like you're feeling like you're being into a funnel. Whereas when we step into love and joy and purpose and all of those emotions vibrate at an entirely different level. We are connecting more to all of that because what is frequency or what is vibrating at the same frequency connects. Just like your listeners turning into this podcast, they're going to hear us. It's a matter of just aligning the frequency that you want. It's science.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it actually also sounds really simple so that we can all follow that. But I think we all have a lot of crap to unlearn coming out of this past that we've been in and into a new paradigm where we can actually align and we can unlearn these things. So yeah, that sounds amazing. Now, if listeners have tuned in and they find this very curious, how can they work with you, Kathy? What are some of the programs and services that you offer so listeners could work with you, could get in touch with you? Anything that you want to talk about?
Well, I do have a program, a group coaching program, and I am putting it into phase 2 right now. So it should be absolutely pristine. I'm adding a membership to it so that everybody can communicate with themselves. I've got an extra section in there where we can have communication privately. And so it becomes a community where we are all sharing. Because just like I said, that there is a world of polarity. As we start to change our vibration, there is an opposing equal vibration on the other end. And if we're not supported by our rising up, which is the name of my coaching company, Rise Up Coaching, if we're not supported through that, we can easily get sucked back down. So it was really important to me. I realized that I needed to add that membership and that community to that. So that should be very soon. We're putting the final tweaks on it. I do some private coaching that's available. I do have my book that has just hit Amazon today as we are recording this, called Unlearn the Crap About Personal Success and Empowerment, which is basically everything I'm explaining. And it's very conversational. It's very easy. And I believe that I've broken it down into simplistic ways that people can understand. But I also believe I've shared with you a Unlearn the Crap cheat sheet that I created that listeners can just go download for free right now and see if it makes sense to them, how the different systems work, and they can actually start to make sense of what has been purposefully mixed up to make it more difficult and more convoluted and more saying that you don't know this, and to go deal with a trusted professional who doesn't know anything. Nobody knows more about you than you. I've shared all those links with you, and I know you're going to share them with your listeners.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. And we will be linking to all of Kathy's offerings in the show notes as well. So we will link to her courses, the coaching, the cheat sheet that you just mentioned, and of course her book, which congratulations on that coming out today. How fantastic is that? So yeah, you can check out all of the things on how to get a hold of Kathy in the show notes. And this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed this journey into unlearning the crap about personal success and empowerment as much as I have. I'm always so humbled by every podcast episode where I learn so much from my guests, and this has been an incredible half hour where we've explored so many things, and I've again learned so much. And it has been fantastic chatting with you today, Kathy. Thank you so much for your time and the wisdom that you brought today.
Thank you so much. I believe we're on a mission to get this information out as fast as possible. So you have been a huge help, and I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to reading your book so I can unlearn some crap. I think that's going to be fantastic. Yeah. So thank you so much, Kathy, and take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.